Hello, everybody. Welcome to the TriStar Gym channel. Please give me that thumbs up as usual. Let me know that the sound is working loud and clear. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about Adesanya and Alex Pereira. A fight I'm super excited about that's happening this weekend. I am super pumped about this fight. This is going to be a legendary fight between strikers. Guys, thank you for the thumbs up. Very appreciated, Stephen Nash. Thank you very much. The W Studio. Thank you, everybody, for giving me that thumbs up. I'm glad you guys are hearing me loud and clear. Guys, before we get started, I want to give a quick apology. Recently, I went on a podcast and I was asked about a previous video I did. And in that video, I got a lot of people. I got a certain group that was insulting me for not rolling with women, certain BJJ instructors. And I took aim at them and I generalized my comments, and it kind of sounded like I was taking aim at everybody. Okay, so it was really not that. I was really aiming at a particular group that I didn't want to name, that I don't want to start a back and forth online with. But in the future, if we cross paths, then we could settle our issues then. But I was taking aim at a particular group, not trying to speak about everybody at large. So my apologies for those who were offended. I didn't elaborate because the podcast was not about that. Sexual harassment and stuff like that happens in MMA gyms, BJJ gyms. It's an incredible problem. It's a massive problem. Big gyms, the bigger the gym, the bigger the bigger the cases they have. And I can tell you that in my gym, it's very strict. We're very on top of that to make sure that people of all groups can train. Women, men, every single human being is always welcome. We have tolerance for acceptance from every group. And I feel that our gym is a really good example of how to run things, how to do things to make sure people feel comfortable and are not harassed when they're on the mat. However, certain people who come from, let's say, groups that are not so adamant about protecting certain groups in the gym have the gall and nerve to insult me. So anyways, that's a topic for later. Maybe in the AMA section after we go over the analysis, maybe we talk about this. Is a very important topic. It's countless cases of sexual harassment and stuff like that in MMA gyms. Do a quick Google research. Do a quick Google. Type in MMA and sexual harassment or BJJ and sexual harassment. You're gonna see tons of cases, guys. That's not even 1% of the things that happen in gyms. That's not even 1%, and it's always men abusing women. It's never the other way around. Okay, it's never happened in the history of sports. That, to my knowledge, especially not in the MMA community, it's never happened that a woman took advantage of a man or was the aggressor. It's always the men. That's the topic for later, so let's remember to put that on later, okay? Okay, guys, I want to start off with Adesanya and Alex Pereira. I'm going to give you guys how I see the fight. Then I want to hear who you guys think is going to win. And then I want to take your comments and questions on the fight, okay? So let's get started. My quick pick, guys, I think Isreal Adesanya is going to win this fight. This fight is this Saturday. I'm super excited about it. I was supposed to do a watch along. I'm going to be doing a watch along very shortly. We have a new sponsorship. We're going to be doing watch alongs. I really wanted to do this fight, but unfortunately I have to be at another fight, so I won't be able to do it. However, this is a very exciting fight nonetheless. I want to do a breakdown. I think Isreal Adesanya is going to win. Why is he going to win? I went over their fights. I went over their footage. These men have fought twice before. I watched the first fight. I watched it before a long time ago, but I rewatched it. I thought Adesanya won their first meeting. Their second fight, Adesanya was putting it on him, and then he came back in the next round and got knocked out bad. Okay, everybody's seen that knockout. It's the only time Adesanya's ever been knocked out. He got knocked out cold. It was a really bad knockout. Really, he was knocked out cold. Even when they stood him up, he was still lights out. Guys, he got knocked out really bad. Pereira has one of the greatest left hooks I've ever seen. Incredibly dangerous man. Incredible kicking power as well. Incredible scissor knee. He has many knockouts with scissor knee, but also in UFC he has a scissor knee knockout. He's an incredible finisher. Yes, absolutely. However, why am I picking Adesanya if he's such a great finisher? Adesanya's defense is much greater. I rewatch Pereira's fights. Yes, he's incredibly offensive. And sometimes we forget that he's struggled. He has a few losses, yes. And he went on a 10-fight win streak. He had not a string of losses, but he had some tough fights and then a loss here and there. And then he went on a string of wins, 10-fight win streak, won 2 divisions in glory, 2 divisions. Never been done before. Two 2 divisions simultaneously. Then he went in UFC. He's beat everybody so far, knocked out Strickland, and now he has a title fight. A very impressive run. However, even in his UFC fights, he's been hit. Okay, one of his UFC fights, I'm forgetting the gentleman he fought, but he got hit hard, and he got hit often. He ended up winning a decision. It was still very impressive, but still nonetheless, if you watch Pereira's fights, as devastating as he is sometimes, he's not consistently so, and he does get hit a lot. Now, Adesanya has been consistently performing every single fight. Take out his Blachowicz fight. He fought a guy way too heavy for him. He's been incredibly consistent his entire career. I expect him to be consistent again this weekend. I expect him to have better footwork, better distance control, better defense, and very similar offense. Adesanya is also a finisher. Adesanya has greater variety. Adesanya switches sides. Adesanya's footwork is far better. Guys, am I giving Pereira no chance to win? Not at all. I'm giving this a 51-49 in favor of Adesanya. Isreal Adesanya, in my opinion, also has the option to take Alex down. Alex Pereira trains with the Teixeira, of course. He trains with a really great black belt, but he doesn't have the years of wrestling experience that Adesanya has. Now, of course, Adesanya has shown us some great wrestling defense over the years. And he's been in MMA longer than Pereira. Of course, Pereira did MMA back in the day. Then he went heavy into kickboxing. I doubt he kept up his wrestling. When he was fighting in Glory, there's no reason for him to do any wrestling. He was fighting for Glory titles. During that time, Adesanya was already doing MMA. Adesanya, I think, may surprise us on Saturday and score a takedown. Now, let me remind you guys of Chuck Liddell versus Wanderlei Silva. 2 guys who never do takedowns. Chuck Liddell never takes people down. Wanderlei Silva never takes people down. What happens in their fight? First of all, that fight was brewing for 5 years. And Wanderlei Silva was champion in Japan. Chuck Liddell was champion in the USA. Both of them world champion. Both of them cleaning house. Both of them with incredible win streaks. They finally bring Wanderlei Silva to America, and they finally put him in the UFC, and they finally get those 2 in the cage. And what happens? A very close fight, back and forth. I was there in the event. I was in the locker room actually with Wanderlei Silva. What happens? Chuck Liddell scores his first double leg in his entire career. He's never scored a double leg in his entire career. It was a back and forth fight. It was super heated. What does he do? He pulls the trigger on a double leg. Now, Chuck Liddell, till that point, had only done defensive wrestling. His style was stay standing and knock people out. Well, guess what? He's not crazy. He's been wrestling his entire, he did high school wrestling. He's been wrestling his entire career. He scores takedowns, I'm sure, time to time in the practice room. He's not crazy. He's got to try it. It's not possible that he never tried it. He has it in his back pocket. He'll pull out that card. Now, this is a perfect time for Adesanya to do it. Perfect time. He's training with Atos Jiu-Jitsu. He just got his purple belt, from what I understand. He's working his Jiu-Jitsu game. Why is he doing all that work? If the striking gets heated, Adesanya has an extra option. Not only does he switch side, not only does he have better defense, not only does he have better footwork, but if Pereira gets too brave and marches down too aggressively, Adesanya can double leg him, body lock him, or even trip him or whatnot. And I have a feeling that Adesanya's jiu-jitsu is much better. Now, I also think Pereira is very likely going to get up, because he's so athletic. He's a very athletic guy. By watching him closely, he's a very, very athletic person. His father lived in the jungle, actually, they say. He also lived in he went from the jungle to the favela, had a very hard life, got into fighting and made a career for himself. But he is from the Aboriginals. He's like a jungle athlete. It's incredible. His life story is actually very, very impressive. I actually really like the guy. After watching his life story, watching the countdown they had done on him, this is not for this fight. I think it was for the Strickland fight. I thought it was incredible. His life story is really incredible. Listen, my heart wants, I would love to see Pereira win. I mean, what a story. To come from the favelas and to become world champions. What a story. But my mind is telling me that Adesanya is too much. Adesanya is at the peak of his career. I don't think Alex Pereira is yet. He won 2 Glory World titles simultaneously, and I still think he has potential to grow. He's still growing, especially in the sport of MMA. I think the end product is going to be defense. Adesanya knows about that left hook. He knows about the scissor knee. He's going to be really, really ready for it. Guys, can Pereira win? Absolutely. How would he win? He would win with a vicious left hook that came out of nowhere. He could be losing 4 rounds and going into the 5th. I'd still be worried about that left hook because he could put anybody out. Scissor knee, head kick, spinning wheel kick. He has an incredible spinning wheel kick. He's got a great right hand. He's got a phenomenal right hand. He's knocked people out with his right hand as well. After he wobbled Strickland with the left hook, he plowed through with a right hand. That was devastating right hand with a very long reach. Still, guys, that's how I see it. Adesanya's defense is too much. He has a double leg option. He has a takedown option. And if they body lock, he has the trips. He has the body locks. He's going to out-wrestle Pereira. It's not uncommon to put 2 strikers in a cage and they wrestle. You put 2 grapplers in a cage, sometimes they box. Why? Because they know that the grappling route is the harder route. They think that, hey, I've been working on my wrestling. I can out-wrestle this striker. Why should I go into a gunfight where it's going to be a back-and-forth seesaw battle where I know that I could out-wrestle him? Sometimes the strategies can be surprising in that way. I'm not in the practice room with Adesanya. I can't tell you what I know what he's been working on, but for sure he's been showing us that he can wrestle over the years. So he's got that option on him. Okay, guys, with that said, I want to hear what you guys say. Give me the initials of the fighter that you think is going to win. Throw it out there. And then I'm going to scroll up and go through the super chats that I missed. I saw some super chats flare up. Guys, I am going to be doing only questions on Adesanya and Alex Pereira. Please don't send any super chats on anything else. Okay, guys, here it is. Alex Pereira, Izzy. Alex Pereira, Izzy. I would say a slight favor for Alex Pereira so far. Wow, you guys are really looking at Alex Pereira. I would say a majority of you are saying Alex Pereira. Look at that, Alex Pereira. Look at that. Izzy all day. Y'all must have forgot. Guys, Izzy is at the tippy top of his career. The tippy top. He's more well-rounded. Yes, there's the nuclear left hook. It could end the night. Absolutely, guys. That's why I'm giving it 51-49. If there wasn't that left hook, guys, I'll be much more generous. The only thing is that bothers me about this fight for Adesanya is he can get knocked out at any moment. He can get knocked out at any moment. And that long left hook, he's got a long reach, and he pivots well when he does it. He throws a beautiful left hook. Man, he's got that jungle power in that left hook. It's incredible. Okay, guys, let me see here. Let's get into your comments and questions on the fight. Assalamu alaikum, coach. This is from Hussein. Thoughts on Izzy's gyno? Did you see the recent one? Question mark. And do you think Adesanya will grapple just how Ngannou did? Guys, I'm thinking he might surprise everybody with grappling. Yes. Let's see. Izzy and gyno. Let's look that up. Let's see the recent pictures. Guys, I find it incredibly strange. You know, like for me, I've only ever seen, like I heard one doctor give an analysis. So I did a little research on this on the first scandal. You know, the guy. I never seen it on one side, and one doctor was saying, "Look, he's a doctor that does a lot of famous videos, and he's like, let me give you my thoughts on the gyno." And he said, "Well, you know, it could be from a punched in the chest, and you got some tissue damage." And guys, I've been punched in the chest. I've seen a million boxing rounds. I've seen countless boxing rounds, MMA gloves, the big gloves. I've seen countless fights. I've never seen somebody get punched in the chest and then have a gyno. I've never seen it. I found what the doctor's saying is absurd. Guys, he's a medical professional. He knows a lot about his field, but I guarantee you there is not a book. There's not a paragraph in his medical books. There's not a paragraph about the result of what happens to you when you get punched in the chest. This guy's never been in an MMA gym. He's out of his lane. All due respect, he's completely 100% out of his lane. Just because you're a doctor doesn't make you an expert on what happens as a result of punching. He doesn't have 10,000 hours of watching boxing. There has never been in the sport of boxing a guy walk into a fight, not have gyno, get punched into the chest. And believe me, boxers punch each other in the chest quite often. Okay, if you can't find the head, we say punch in the chest till you find the head. To find the body, you find the body, you find the head. People ask me that they heard the corner say punch the shoulder, punch the chest. Why would you want to punch that? It's because the guy's head movement is so good. The chest is a bigger target. You find the chest, and when you find the chest, you can connect to the head and to the body. You know, oftentimes we say in boxing, missing the head is very common. Missing the body is very rare. When you throw a body punch, you're going to hit something. So once you find the body, you could locate the head a little bit more, okay? Because the guy's going to have to cover. You can't kind of slip. But if you're a head hunter, your striking accuracy goes down, okay, statistically. So guys get punched in the chest all the time. I've never seen a guy walk in the ring, walk out with an inflamed breast, or his next fight, his breast is inflamed because he got punched. Never. Guys, when I say never, I don't mean like only a handful of times. I'm telling you, literally, never. So in my mind, there's only one reason for this. There's only one group that has this problem. There's only one group. I have no other, like, I just don't get it. What other possibility could there be? And here I'm looking at pictures. People are putting pictures of him in the earlier years. He doesn't have it. And all of a sudden, boom, he's got it. And for me, I have no explanation, guys. I have no idea. It's very suspicious. Very suspicious to me. Okay, guys, what else we got here? Let me see here. Super chat here. Shiz Akhmedov, sub coach, love your show and a fan. Okay, people, time for some heartbreaking prediction because that's what I'm about. Izzy knows he wants to keep the fight standing, and Alex knows he can do it again. Two high-level kickboxers. Brother, thank you very much. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, but what is your heartbreaking prediction? Is my prediction heartbreaking? You think that it's heartbreaking that I think Adesanya is going to win? Guys, I think Alex Pereira is going to be world champion very likely, eventually. It's just not his time. I hope he wins. I'd love to see him win because, I mean, he has such an incredible biography. It's incredible. His story, how he came out of the jungle to the favela, had a drug problem, and made it all the way to the world title fight. That's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. What else we got here? This is from Verico. Verico, I'm only taking questions on the fight right now. After we do the fight, you can give me your question. So please save that question for later, okay? Your mind is telling you Adesanya is too much. That's from MMA, the MMA Jesus. By 1%, and he's laughing. Guys, I'm only giving a 1% because of that left hook. That left hook, guys, don't be... I'm not super sure Adesanya is going to win. I think he's going to win the majority of the fight and then get crushed by a left hook, possibly get crushed by a left hook. Ultimately, I'm picking him to win because I think he knows all about what Pereira does. He knows about the scissor knee, the head kick, the wheel kick, and that left hook. And he's going to be on the ball, not to get touched by that left hook. But even if you know all about it, guys, one mistake and it's all over, guys. It's just such a tough fight to call. But I am going with Adesanya. Derek, what is the Derek Minor situation, betting situation? I'm just going to see if it's relative to this fight. Derek. I'll answer it if it's relative. Okay, guys, it's not on the fight, so I'm not going to answer that question. Guys, I'm only taking questions on Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. Pereira will KO him. Less defense with 4-ounce gloves and the cage interfering with Adesanya's lean back versus Alex Pereira pressure. That's from Samuel Crisanto. Crisanto, that's such a great comment. You know, guys, Adesanya does a lot of lean back. He arches his back like he's doing the limbo, and he throws shots from there. Not only is the cage make it a little bit harder for him to do that, but also Pereira's got a freakishly long reach as well. So he did it successfully against Whitaker. He did it successfully against Romero. But can he do that on a guy with a long, long reach? Like, personally, I don't do that style. Why? Because when I do it, guys have longer reaches than me. It doesn't work for me. That style really works when you have a long reach. And then all of a sudden, you're fighting a guy with a longer reach than you, and that style doesn't work. But you're used to doing that style. I wouldn't say that the cage is a problem. I'd say that the cage actually is a little bit better because that cage is bigger than a glory ring. Guys, if this fight was in a glory ring, I'd probably give it to Pereira. I'm telling you, I would give it to Pereira. The fact that it's in an MMA fight and they have the octagons. The octagons, there's no corners to close the distance and put the pain on your opponent, okay? It's really tough to corner somebody because there's no corners, right? Sometimes you can kind of like press them up against the cage, but they can always escape laterally. It's not easy, but it's much easier than in a ring. In a ring, you're literally in a corner, so it could be a problem moving laterally. Bro, Brazilians statistically learn BJJ faster. I don't know why, but they do. That's from Moises. Well, it's culturally more known, but I don't think his jiu-jitsu's any better than Adesanya. I would say Adesanya's jiu-jitsu is better. Adesanya's training at Atos. I mean, he's with one of the top schools in the world. So if I had to choose between training in Brazil and training at Atos, I would go to Atos. Alex is too strong. That's from KO King. Well, KO King, I would tell you that is a major concern. Like, I was watching the fight. I'm telling you, Pereira looks very strong, physically strong. He's got that jungle strength, man. They're living in the jungle. Living in the jungle with Aboriginal is incredible, man. What a story. I'm sure he's freakishly strong. I'm sure. But Adesanya is also an incredible athlete, guys. Don't double guess his athleticism. He's dealt with wrestlers. He's dealt with Romero on top of him. He made it look easy getting up. He made it look easy. And that's Yoel Romero, a guy who's wrestling internationally since he's been bred in wrestling since he could walk. And Adesanya muscled his way off his back, and he looked amazing in that fight. I know it was a very difficult fight. People called it boring. I didn't. I thought it was amazing. Two supreme athletes that are deadly, nullifying each other one after the other. They were both brilliant in that fight, but Adesanya won. Yoel Romero is an even freakier athlete than Pereira. Okay, that doesn't guarantee Adesanya gets knocked out. Doesn't get knocked out, but I'm telling you, I really think that his footwork and distance control and variety is too much. He has much more variety than Alex Pereira. Izzy all the way. That's from Nitesh Lal. Nitesh, I have my doubts. Believe me, I'm picking Izzy too, but I have my doubts, man. Pereira can put it on, and Pereira's got the reach, the power, the forward pressure, and man, he's got a devastating left hook. Alex cannot wrestle and out-grapple Isreal Adesanya. Alex in 2 rounds by KO. That's from Copycat. No, I really don't think he can grapple. We haven't seen any evidence of that. In his first fight, he got taken down. He got mauled on the ground. He got controlled on the ground. He looked okay. I mean, he looked like he didn't gas out. He didn't get destroyed on the ground. Like, I mean, he held his own, but he was losing against a guy you've never heard of. And then in the second round, he comes out with a scissor knee explosively and puts him away. Now, most guys in those positions in round 1, getting taken down, being put up against the fence, like really elite kickboxers would come in and gas after that. They looked really tired. Why? Because they're not used to grappling. They've done so much of their training. So much of their trainings is standing up. So when you put them on the floor, guys, if you're an elite wrestler and I make you kickbox, you're going to get tired. If you're an elite runner and I ask you to do something that's not your sport, you're going to get tired. So if you take a kickboxer and you make him play side control bottom, he's going to get tired. That's not what his body's trained to do. But Alex Pereira didn't look tired. He came out super fresh through a flying knee. His athleticism is stunning. It's amazing. But so is Adesanya. I'm expecting it's going to be equal. It's not going to come down to athleticism. It's going to be a non-issue. Athleticism is going to be a non-issue. Could Adesanya's MMA conditioning be too much for Pereira? That's from FTM. Yes, I agree. I think Guys, I'll tell you something. The hardest cardio, the hardest, and I don't know why. It's not striking, it's not wrestling, it's not jiu-jitsu. It's MMA. When we do striking with takedowns and guys fight up back to their feet, and then we're striking again, and then we're wrestling again, and that's hell, man. That is the hardest cardio. So many training camps. Sometimes we go into like a patch of boxing, and then we wrestle separately. And then we're like, okay, let's put it all together now. Whenever we do that, whenever we take a break from like MMA sparring and we come back to it, it's so exhausting. But you've been kickboxing and you've been wrestling and you've been doing jiu-jitsu. What's the difference that you did it all together? I don't know why. You can train boxing, you can train jiu-jitsu, you can train wrestling. Let's say you're doing boxing 2 times a week, 3 times a week. You're doing wrestling 2 times a week. And you're doing jiu-jitsu 2-3 times a week. And you're putting it all together 2-3 months from now. Okay, so you're doing like a stint of like, you're separating the sports. When you go in MMA sparring, it's tiring. I don't know why. You need like 2, 3, 4 weeks to get back in the groove of how you used to have cardio for MMA. And then eventually later on, when you get really, really experienced, it doesn't matter so much anymore. It doesn't matter so much anymore, but it still matters. MMA cardio is very different. The scrambling on the ground, getting back up to your feet, changing gears, going from clinching back to striking, from striking back to the ground. It's just, I don't know what it is. I think it's because we're asking our bodies to do something isometric, and then we're asking our body to be dynamic. Something about the brain changing gears is very fatiguing. I don't know exactly what it is, but it is definitely very different. They will not go on the ground, not even once. Mark my word. That's from Ronnie Priel. Guys, mark Ronnie Priel's words. He says this fight won't touch the ground. If he is wrong, we'll bring him back out here and publicly cane him. I'll cane him on my show. Ronnie Priel, are you ready for that? Are you ready to fly down to Montreal and be caned live? Because we marked your words. You guaranteed us. If this fight has any grappling in it, Mr. Priel, you must come and be caned. I think it's not unlikely, okay, that they strike, but nothing surprises me, man. I'm telling you, nothing. If you have 2 guys who are supposed to KO each other and they end up wrestling the whole fight, that doesn't surprise me in the least. It's happened in the past. And sometimes you have these 2 elite grapplers that are supposed to show us like this. It's going to be a grappling clinic, and then they end up striking the whole fight. Not uncommon. Nothing surprises me anymore. What traps do you think Izzy will use against Pereira? That's from the Tesh. I think he's going to go in there. He's going to switch southpaw righty, and he's going to be moving laterally 99% of the time. First round, he's going to move laterally. He's not going to engage Pereira like toe-to-toe. And he's just going to footwork, distance control. He's going to throw a variety of strikes, lots of head kicks, lots of oblique kicks maybe. I don't know if he's going to decide to go oblique, but I would definitely go oblique because of that square Muay Thai stance. He's going to want to avoid that left hook. He's going to want to take Pereira into the later rounds. I don't think he's going to go meet Pereira in the middle and start trading. Why? He'll get touched by that left hook. He's going to be Muhammad Ali in there, man. He's going to be dancing. It's going to be Muhammad Ali versus George Foreman. He's going to be dancing and dancing and dancing. And he's going to touch and pick and poke and stick and move. And as he sees he might attack the legs of Pereira. Now, he's had his legs killed by Jason Wilness. Jason Wilness, a man who beat Pereira and Adesanya. In glory, Jason Wilness beat Adesanya and he beat Pereira. Now, Pereira also beat him, knocked him out. Flying knee, scissor knee, his famous scissor knee. But Jason Wilness beat Pereira twice. Guys, watch those fights. Jason Wilness puts it on him to the body, head. He's a much shorter fighter, but still very powerful, very dangerous fighter. He had a very close fight with Adesanya. I thought it could have gone either way. Jason Wilness versus Adesanya. Very, very tough fight to call. Could have gone either way. Nonetheless, Pereira, after losing to Jason Wilness and all that, went on a win streak, man. He went on a tear. He became a different animal. Adesanya's fighting a very different guy than who Pereira was when he lost to Jason Wilness, who he avenged later. He avenged that loss later. I think Adesanya is going to stick and move. He's going to pick and poke. He's going to use a lot of footwork, lots of lateral movement. He doesn't want to go toe-to-toe with Pereira. That would be insane. Watch the Strickland fight. Strickland said, hey, I have a strategy. I'm going to march this guy down. And Pereira is too dangerous. And Strickland is a very, very competent fighter. He's very dangerous. He's very explosive. He was undefeated in middleweight at the time. This is his first loss at middleweight. He's a very, very dangerous striker. He played a dangerous game. I wouldn't recommend anybody try to walk down Alex Pereira. You will get knocked out. Now, Izzy, too experienced, too many 5-round fights. He knows he's got 25 minutes. That's a lot of time. How many 5-round fights does Adesanya have? He's got probably 7. I would say at least 6. 7, I would say, because he fought Blachowicz. He did 5 rounds. I'm not saying they went to the distance. I'm saying how many 5-round fights did he, because I know he's finished his opponents as well. How many 5-round fights did he train for? You know, a 5-round training camp is very intense. You know, you got to do 5 rounds of practice. And he's ready, man. He's got the gas tank. He's got that extra 10 minutes 10 times over. He knows what to do in that extra 10 minutes. This is Alex Pereira's first time doing 25 minutes. This is from Shiz, guys. Alex has a one-shot KO power and his ground game is pretty good. I believe Izzy wants to prove he can strike with one of the best strikers in the world. And I have a strong feeling Alex will find a way again. That's from Shiz. Well, I don't think so, man. I don't think Adesanya is thinking, hey, I got to show everybody I'm a better striker. Why? Why would he want to do that? If you can take Alex Pereira down and beat the hell out of him and put him on a choke and pin him, why not? Why is he training jiu-jitsu then? You know, he's training jiu-jitsu currently. Why train jiu-jitsu? Because Alex Pereira, guys, is not going to try to take Adesanya down. He's not. I highly doubt. Unless he got his jaw broken and he can't take another punch. He got his nose broken. If he's in horrible situations, he's going to try to shoot. And it's not going to work. He's going to get sprawled out on. Guys, if Yoel Romero cannot take down and pin Adesanya, if Brunson cannot take down and pin Adesanya, if all these wrestlers can't take down Adesanya and pin him, Gasol and all these guys, how on earth is Pereira going to do it? How? He'd have to stun him bad. Guys, if you knock a guy down silly and he's wobbly and he gets back up to his feet, yeah, anybody can double leg him. But I'm talking about Adesanya is a very difficult guy. Very, very difficult guy to pin, to take down and control. You're wasting your time and energy. I have no doubt in my mind that Pereira's thinking this is a gunfight. I have to stay standing and win. Not Adesanya. Why would Adesanya do that? He has years in the bank getting ready for this moment. He has years in the bank wrestling and grappling more than Pereira. I know Pereira did jiu-jitsu. He started off as an MMA fighter. Then he went into glory. Why do you think that is? Probably because he wasn't doing good in grappling and wrestling. He was knocking guys out. It's like he's got hands of stone. Why don't I go into boxing? Why don't I go into... Guys, he's also a great amateur boxer. Why don't I go into boxing and kickboxing? If the guy was in the practice room and he was getting subs and he was taking people down at will, he would say, hey, let me go into MMA. Let me go into freestyle wrestling. Let me accentuate my talents in a sport that allows me to do so. He went to boxing and kickboxing for a reason, guys, because he probably wasn't doing as good in grappling and wrestling as he was in striking. How could you think that he's going to do well now? You know, he probably doesn't have a great talent for it. Panda Cat. Coach, there is this girl I'm interested in, but she doesn't want to commit to anything. We're both strict Muslims, and she just got out of her engagement, and me divorced 2 years ago. Any advice? Wow, what a question. Brother, we're still doing Adesanya versus, I don't know if you're listening, Alex Pereira. Please ask me this question again after I open up the Ask Me Anything, which is coming shortly. Okay, so I'm going to try to circle back to you. But guys, we're doing Adesanya versus Pereira. I'll help you with your girl trouble as soon as I can. But we're in the middle of a pre-fight analysis podcast. That Indian dude, the camp Izzy comes from CKB, and Coach Eugene Behrman is very smart. In the fight, you will see Adesanya slowly neutralize Pereira. I see Izzy win by unanimous decision. That's from the Indian dude, guys. The Indian dude strongly believes that Adesanya's strategy will be superior. I agree, guys. He's got a great coaching staff. Eugene's great coach. He's got a great team. They've been in the game in MMA. Yes. But guys, sometimes you got a God-given talent and gift, and it just connects, and it's lights out. That's the scary thing about this fight. That technically, guys, I would tell you, technically, Adesanya is better, in my opinion, technically. But man, does Pereira have a gift. He has a one-touch of death. And that, my friends, is always a possibility for winning. Okay, guys, let me know any more comments and questions. Let's see here. I got another super chat that just disappeared on me. Here it is. Coach, will Pereira have the wrestling advantage because he's a Muslim? One objective. No, unfortunately, no. Your religion, your worldview does not affect your wrestling ability. Coach, do you think Izzy will have a little bit of ego and will want to outstrike Alex to remind everyone that he's the winning kickboxing against Alex before the knockout? That's from Shiz. Shiz is saying, look, when their second fight, he almost knocked out Pereira. And then he came back and got knocked out himself. But right before Pereira got an 8 count. I hope he doesn't let his ego into the door. It doesn't matter how you beat the guy. If you choke him, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's the better striker. It's who's the better fighter. Adesanya is the MMA world champion, UFC world champion. If I was his trainer, I'd be in his ear about this. It's about winning. It's not about machismo. Imagine he tries to win that by that path and he gets knocked out. What does it prove? Now you lost 3 times to the same guy. Beat him once and let him come back again. Let him go through the ranks, come back again. And then maybe we'll take a swing at beating him and striking. But guys, in fighting, you take the easiest path always. When the chips are down, it's fight night. It's win, lose, or draw. It's happening now. This is for the record. This is on the record. You play it smart. Poatan will make the division more exciting. Poatan is Alex Pereira, guys. That's from Zubair Daoud. Absolutely. That's why I love this guy so much. He's going to make the division super exciting. I don't think he wins this weekend, but however, he will be back. And I think he will eventually be a world champion. Okay, guys, I think we've done this question. Hold on. I think we've done this fight. And I don't think there's any more questions and comments. Coach, why is Izzy such a boring fighter? That's from Harris. Absolutely not a boring fighter. Isreal Adesanya is not only one of the greatest fighters to ever do it. He's also one of the best fighters. He's also the most entertaining fighters to ever do it. I totally disagree with you. I find he's got one of the most exciting styles. Now, I don't love the antics, the dancing before and the dancing. I'm not a big fan of that. I think it's kind of like you're mocking your opponent. It's not really nice, like not the like the dancing. Like I understand he wants to celebrate his win, but like the humping I don't like that stuff. I find that's like, and I know there was probably a lot of back and forth before the fight. I'm not sure exactly what was said. So, I mean, I'm not saying that he didn't like kind of lose his temper. I guess it's forgivable. But if Costa was like a really nice guy, never said anything, and Izzy did that, I'd find it very distasteful. But I'm sure Costa said a lot of things. He probably deserved to be humiliated a little bit. Again, I don't know anything. I'm assuming because I've heard him talk on the mic. I've heard him talk, and he has a lot of foul things to say. So maybe Adesanya kind of wanted to humiliate him a bit. But in terms of his fighting style, I love to watch Adesanya. He's an incredible fighter. Coach, how do you think being knocked out in the past is going to affect Izzy? That's from Saad Khan. That's a really good question. Guys, some fighters, when they get knocked out, it gets in their head. Some fighters, it doesn't. It makes them smarter and wiser. Adesanya is in the former group. He got knocked out. He got smarter. He got wiser. He trusts his chin. He has an incredible chin. He's fought many knockout punchers, didn't hesitate to pull the trigger, pulled out flawless victories. Paulo Costa, that we just talked about, it was a flawless victory. One of the greatest championship wins I've ever seen in UFC. One of the greatest wins. I've ever seen. Brilliance. I think he's going to do it again. Okay, guys, what else we got here? Okay, guys, I think we've pretty much done this fight, guys. We're 41 minutes in. It's getting late here. Let me open it up to ask me anything, guys. Ask me anything. Now's the time to ask your women trouble question. Let me scroll back up and see what my brother here said. Let's see here. My man with the women troubles. Where is he? Coach, there's a girl I'm interested in, but she doesn't want to commit to anything. We're both strict Muslim, and she just got out of her engagement and me divorced 2 years ago. Any advice? That's from Panda Cat. Panda Cat, listen, man, what can I tell you? Number one, make money. You have women trouble? Number one, guys, make money. When you have money, it's guys, I'm your big brother here. Listen to me as a big brother, please. Money doesn't keep women, but it makes it easier. It makes it a lot easier. And I'm not saying that you should live lavish and all that. I personally don't. But suffice it to say that women, much like men love beauty. Women love a guy who can take care of them. And a lot of you guys are going to be like, oh, Coach, that's so old-fashioned. Nah, not so much. Women instinctively, think about it. When a woman gets pregnant, she's vulnerable for 9 months. Then after she has a baby, take care of for years. She doesn't have time for a career. If she's pregnant, guys, naturally we've developed these instincts. We have these instincts within us. Now, when a woman gets pregnant, she's very, very vulnerable. Not only for 9 months, after that, she has a child to take care of for years. She needs a guy she can trust that will provide for her. She's not just taking care of herself. She's got to take care of one kid. And then you want another kid. So 2 years later, she's pregnant again. Now she's got 2, 3 kids. She's doing time, man. She's doing 10, 15 years. Who's going to take care of her during that time? She's taking care of somebody. Guys, if you never had a child, it's a full-time job. It's a very difficult thing. Now, it's possible to have a career as a woman and have kids, but it's just really tough. It's really, really tough, man. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of energy. It's very stressful. I do it. My wife has a job. We have 3 kids. We work, both of us. It's tough, though. It's tough to keep the house clean, work your job. Like, what blows my mind is sometimes I know guys who their wife works, they have kids, and the husband's just like a bum. And the wife works, comes back, takes care of the kids, and takes care of that. Like, she's doing everything, and the husband's like a bum. Man, if my daughter ever married a guy like that, I would kill him. I would dismember him. I can't believe that, like, it's so insane to me that men sometimes don't understand this. A woman has to be taken care of when she's pregnant, when she has kids. It's a full-time job. You want your kid taken care of, it's a full-time job. So I recommend setting yourself up. Have a house, have a good career, have money in the bank, and the wife issue will kind of like remedy itself more easily. Maybe she's hesitant. I'm taking a wild guess here. Because she doesn't feel that she can depend on you. She doesn't feel like, hey, this guy's as solid as a rock. So that's my opinion to you. Get super organized. Have a house, have money, have income. Be a stable guy. Be a provider. Be able to provide, and then find yourself a nice girl. But if you get married and you're not able to provide, it's just much more stressful. It's much more difficult to have a harmonious relationship. Now, I'm not saying that's all it takes. It takes a lot more. Okay, because when you have money problems, that's like 99% of what you have to talk about all the time. When you don't have money problems, you can move on. Okay, now when I say make money, I'm not saying you have to be a millionaire. You have to be able to afford your home. You have to be able to afford the groceries. You have to have some breathing room. You know, you don't want to be stressed every week, every month. Hey, am I going to cover my bills this month? Do we have enough money for internet, electricity, the utilities, the gas? You got to be able to cover all this and lower the stress of a woman, because women think about this. Women definitely think about this subconsciously, at least. Subconsciously, maybe they can't verbalize it, but I guarantee you that it's something they instinctually feel. Guarantee you. Okay, guys, I'm in the Ask Me Anything portion of this podcast. Please shoot all your questions and comments. It's 2022, Coach. I love your opinions on combat, but some of your views date you. Haha. That's from C. C, let me ask you a question. How many children, and do you have a wife? Are you married? I bet you, I very likely don't. Guys, the way I think is how the world used to think, how half the known world still thinks. And every single country, every single civilization has been built by guys who think like me. Every single civilization in history. Let me tell you about Canada, the country I live in. Canada is the most liberal country in the world. I would argue it's the most liberal country in the world. Maybe some countries are as liberal, but Canada is the most liberal country in the world. They're very progressive, etc. Forget about it. We're super progressive. Now, Canadians don't produce many children. Why? Women work. They have careers. They don't have time for children. It's very difficult to be a full-time career and have kids. Think about it. You got to go to school first because Canada's high education. So you can't get a job. You can't have a career without education. So you come out of university and you got to find a job. By the time you find a job, now you have to find a job. You got to work, you got to put in at least 5 years. And then you're 30. 30, it's time to have a baby. How many kids can you have now? It's very stressful. The life here is very stressful. Kind of like in Japan. In Japan, they can't have a lot of children. Why? Education is super demanding. Workforce is super demanding. You're asking too much. So how does Canada resolve that issue? Well, immigration. They take people from countries, foreign countries, who don't do that. They've had kids because they prioritize the family. Guys, what I'm telling you, my worldview, we prioritize family first. Not career. Families first, then career. If you prioritize career, you're going to have less kids. If you prioritize family, you're going to have more kids. Okay, so it's not a question of outdated. It's a question of lifestyle. I prefer, the most important thing for me is not my career. It's my family. Family first and foremost is far more important than my career. I don't think any human being who raises a successful family would trade it for anything. That's going to be his most prized, most loved thing in this world. He would never say, I had a professional career and I had a successful family and the professional career brought me more satisfaction. This will never be the case. Okay, so how do liberal countries like Canada handle their population problem? Well, they call upon countries who think like more traditionally, more conservative countries. It's inherent. They need it. They have no choice. Because it's too difficult in Canada to have 4 or 5 kids. It's very difficult. 3 kids, guys. I have 3 kids. It's very difficult. I have 4 kids living in my house. It is very, very difficult to manage all this time and energy. These kids have needs, homework, this, that. Forget about it. Extracurricular activity, birthday parties. It's very tough. So, guys, what do progressive countries do? They defer their birth rate problem to other countries that are not progressive. Why? Guys, who produces the most children in this world are not the liberal countries. Okay, so don't forget that. This is a very important point. What do you make of Poirier versus Chandler? That's from Shafato. That's a tough one to call. Man, that's a tough one. I would love to have seen what they're doing in their training camp. This one's going to be a barn burner. Guys, I'm going to give it to Poirier because of his history of fighting. I think he fought the harder fights. Not an easy fight to call, but Poirier has more difficult competition. He fought guys in their prime. He fought harder fights, and he's proven time and time again he can hang in tough. So has Chandler. Chandler's extremely... Guys, this is a hard one to call. If I had to pick one, I think I'm going to pick Poirier. Damn, many of the things for us says are true. Damn, making me near depressed as I 34-year-old dude. That's from Cloud Master. Cloud Master, 34 years old is very young. You're very young. Whatever situation you're in, you could turn it around. For men, 34 years old is incredibly young, guys. Arabs, we call you a shab. A shab is a young man. You're a shab till you're 40. When you're 40, we don't call you shab no more. 34, you are young. Eat well, exercise, take care of yourself. You have plenty of time to, even if you're haven't taken care of your career, guys. 34 is very young for a man, not for a woman. Guys, 34, I think it's 35 actually. You're dossier rouge. You're the red. How do you say dossier rouge in French? You're a red file. In Canada, you're a red file. What does that mean? She's dossier rouge. She has a red file. Now, we don't put her in a yellow file no more. We put her in a red file. Why do we put her in a red file? If she's to be pregnant, she's high difficulty pregnancy. She needs more testing. She needs more care. She has to be very careful. At 35, to have a child, for a woman, you have high chances of miscarriage, etc. Complications. I'm not a doctor, guys, but I know this for a fact, okay? They call it dossier rouge, red file. Why? I have to take special... The doctor has to make sure that he doesn't miss this one very important fact. For a man, 35 years old, 34 years old, man, you can have unlimited babies. Okay, so don't worry. You got plenty of time. You got plenty of time, but don't waste any more time. Get it going. $34 is prime time. That's from Ali Bozdag. As I thought that, but 40 actually. 40, guys. 40 is even better. Oh, guys, I got a string of super chats. What happened here? Holy moly. Oh, my God. I have to use the arrow. This is unbelievable. Coach, what do you think of my prediction? John Jones wins by decision against the scariest heavyweight, Francis Ngannou. John must survive for 2 rounds, and in the third round, in the third round to 5, from the 3rd to 5th round, John will win. Sean, outsmart Francis. I can't wait for this. This is from Shiz Akhmedov. Guys, man, is this fight signed? Wow. I saw headlines and stuff, but I don't know if it's signed. If it's signed, guys, this is a scary, scary fight. Man, I used to say that I'd pick John Jones against Ngannou. I used to say that. I don't think so anymore. I'm not sure. Right now in my mind, I guess I'll do a breakdown of this, but right now I got to go over their footage. Right now, I'd be giving it, if you ask me right now to choose, I'll give it to Ngannou. I'm going to go over their footage again and decide. Because I think even if Ngannou gets taken down, he'll get back up. He'll get back up. Scary fight. Very scary fight for anybody. What do you make of Poirier versus Chandler? I already did that. Coach, what are your training routine would you suggest for someone looking to build strength, conditioning, and endurance with less/no focus on increasing size? That's from Muhayman. Salam alaikum. You want to build strength, conditioning, and endurance with less or no focus on increasing size. Wow, that's a very interesting. Look, I will tell you this, okay? The more you run, like road work, the more size you lose. You get smaller. Okay, so road work, I give it to guys who I feel need to lose weight. They're overly muscular. When you do, let's say weights, you're more likely to increase weight. Okay, now guys, recently I've been doing, a lot of you guys saw my Carnivore MD, interview. And I've been carnivore now for about 2 weeks, and I can tell you guys something. I've put on muscle, guys, at the age of 42, and I'm not hitting the weights hella hard or anything. I'm doing my weights like normal, but I've noticed I've put on muscle. My thighs have gotten bigger, my shoulders, I've put on muscle, and it's only 2 weeks in. Paul Saladino was telling me that you get more protein out of meats because, and I'm answering your question, okay, so please bear with me. You get more proteins from meats than you will from a protein shake. The bioavailability, because I was doing less meats and I was getting my protein mostly from egg whites and some meats, and whey protein. And he was like, no, you're not getting the same amount. Not eggs. He wasn't talking about eggs. Eggs are great. He thinks eggs are great. The bioavailability that I was getting from plant foods, because I was also getting protein from plant foods, he goes, you're not really absorbing the protein that's in there. Yes, there's a protein count. Your protein count is correct, but the absorption is not there. I think he might be right about this, because I tell you for certain, I know my body very well. I put on muscle recently, and even just tonight, I was wrestling tonight. One of my students came up to me and says, "Oh, coach, you got more muscular." And I was like, yeah, I've been carnivore. I'm not strictly carnivore, guys. I'm Paul Saladino's version of carnivore. I did an interview on this. It's basically fruit and meats, fruit and flesh foods. Okay, eggs are okay. And I can tell you guys right away, I've put on muscle. At 42, your muscle's supposed to be going down. Okay, now what I'm trying to tell you, if you don't want to gain size, your diet is extremely important. One, calorically, and two, be more on the vegan end of the spectrum. If you're on the vegan end of the spectrum, you see vegans, they don't gain a lot of muscle. I've seen very muscular vegans, guys, but I'll tell you something. Plant foods don't put on muscle very easily. You'd have to eat a lot of lentils, peas, and it's difficult to get all that food. Okay, so eat more vegetables, rice, starch. Try to stay away from too much fats because you don't want to bulk up. And if you feel like you're too bulky, increase your road work. If you want to increase in muscular size, do kettlebell, band sprints. Like I check out Strong and Stable Knees and Strong and Stable Back. I show a lot of great exercises because I don't like to recommend Olympic lifting because Olympic lifting is a sport in itself, guys. It's very difficult to Olympic lift properly. People think they're doing it properly. They're doing it completely wrong. Squats, bench. Just know what makes you bigger. Do weight training, but see how much weight training you can do without getting too big. Okay, if you're doing weight training and feel like you're getting a little bit bigger, increase your road work, decrease your weight training. I like kettlebell, I like barbell, I like dumbbells, I like to do body weight training, I like plyometrics, low impact plyometrics. So what I'm trying to say is everybody needs to do a blend of road work, running, cardio, aerodyne, row machine, so metabolic conditioning, and you have to do muscular work, okay? Squat, band pulls, kettlebells, all that. One increases your size and one decreases your size. Metabolic conditioning or running, rowing, aerodyne will decrease you in size. Okay? Especially if you do a prolonged session. Weights will increase you in size. Carnivore diet, in my opinion, okay, if you mix it with fruit, if you only have meat, you'll lose weight. Okay? But if you mix it with fruit, you'll increase in muscular size. Now, if you go more vegan, if you go more salad, fruit, legumes, vegetables, and all that, you'll decrease in size. Okay, so diet and exercise, you have two directions you can go. Increase your metabolic conditioning and increase your vegetables and fruit and decrease your meat production, meat consumption. Now, Dr. Joel Fuhrman, he says if you eat, linebackers have a short lifespan because he says they eat too much meat. Okay, Joel Fuhrman, he calls his diet the nutritarian diet. And he says, look, linebackers have to eat a lot of meat to get that big. So he even associates meat eating with size. And now that I've been doing this carnivore experiment, I've seen a growth, guys. I've seen a growth in my legs, my back. And I'm not saying no. I'm liking it because I'm 40 and I was worried. People tell me when you hit 40, you lower in testosterone, you're going to lose muscle. So I've been paying attention to my muscle. And I feel like the carnivore diet is making me more muscular at the age of 42. So I would recommend you do the opposite if you're scared. So notice how much meat you eat. Your diet is also incredibly important, guys. Don't ever underestimate the power of your diet. Salam, coach. Salam also, coach. Help me turn my life around. Thank you. I cannot express my gratitude enough. Hope I can see you at TriStar soon. Jazakallahu khair. That's from Muhammad Hassan. Jazakallahu khair, brother. Thank you very much. That's very, very appreciated. That's very kind of you. Okay, guys. I think that I got the super chats. All right. Guys, we're in the Ask Me Anything portion. Coach, how important is mindset psychology in achieving a goal? Customata believed that 70% of boxing was mental. If you believe this, how do build an elite mentally and a strong mindset? That's from Kamal. That's a really, really interesting question. I think mental side of fighting is huge, massive. Guys, to go to the gym every day. Guys, today I didn't want to go to my evening practice. I couldn't. Man, I was lying down on the couch after the morning practice. And my daughter comes home from school and she's like, Papa, I want to snuggle you. So she gets on the couch and she's my baby girl, guys. You got to do this. She's young. She wants to snuggle her papa. Okay, come and snuggle your papa. And she's on the couch and we're watching a show. And she's like, do you have to go to the gym today? And guys, I'm telling you, I really didn't want to go to the gym today. I don't know why. I'm just tired. I'm like, yeah, baby, I got to go. Do you sure you want to go? And she's like, can you stay tonight? I'm like, no, baby, I got to go. It's like, okay, fine. But man, I'm telling you, it would be so tempting to be like, hey, you know what? I'm taking the evening off tonight. But mentally, you have to be strong, guys. You have to execute your work. You got to take care of business. You got to look at your week and you say, how much work am I going to do in the weekend? How much leisure am I going to have? And you got to decide that. And then you got to review your week and say, was that enough leisure or was it too little, too much? Am I getting enough done? You got to ask yourself. You got to be your own CEO. And you got to tell the employee, you got to tell them, no, you got to work more. You got to work this much. And this is what we got to do. And this is what we got to this is how much production we need to get going. You got to be the CEO. You got to look back at your week and say, did I have a perfect week? Did I push my employee? And your employee is yourself, okay? Am I running him too hard that he's going to break? Or am I being too easy on him? He's getting fat and lazy. And that CEO has got to push you now. Now, I've got the plan. I'm going to stay true to my plan. I'll reassess later on to see if I'm pushing the employee a little too much or a little too little. You got to be your own CEO. You got to be your own. You got to be you got to be the guy who calls a shot, and then you got to stick to the plan. Stick to your plan. Mentally is getting to the gym, doing your rounds, being disciplined, working on what you have to work on. When you're rolling, guys, don't worry about if you did good or not. Worry about improving. Every round you have to improve. Every single round you have to figure out something about your game that you could improve. Every single round. What did you just improve? You just rolled. What did you figure out? What did you understand? Every single round. Now, as you get closer to the fight, think about it like this. 6 months away from your fight, it's all physical. But the physical part, getting it done, it's the mental part of it. You got to push yourself to do it right. The day before your fight, you can't really train much. Now it's all mental. Are you going to do what you did in the gym, or are you going to go in there and be taken aback by all the lights and the crew and the camera and the cameraman pointing the camera in your face and people surrounding you, you're hearing people in the stands, the commentators? Is that going to affect your performance? If it does, you're not mentally prepared. If you can't do it in a fight, what you do in the gym, it's mental. Now, I always tell my students, guys, the promoter's, his job is to make the fight hyped. His job is to make the lighting perfect. His job is to make you sound like you're a killer. His job is to make your opponent sound like he's a killer. The commentators are gonna they're gonna hype it up, and the crowd is there because they're excited to see a fight, and they have a Saturday night planned, and they just came back from dinner. They're on leisure time. They're excited because they don't really. Some people don't even care. Most people don't even care what happens in the fight. They just finished a great dinner. They're going to party later. They're here for excitement. They're here because they're happy because the weekend is here. All that hype. You're just entertainment. Your fight's 15 minutes. They just want to watch you for 15 minutes. And next, who's next? You, that 15 minutes is everything. For you, that 15 minutes is, all your work for months and how you're going to live your life after that. Like, it's so important to you. But their job is to hype it all up. Their job is to the interview before, the interviews after, the pictures, and everything is to hype up your fight. Why? Because they want to make it seem like it's bigger than it is. They want to make it seem like this is the greatest fight in history. Well, really, next week they're doing it again. The lighting and the whole production. They get a guy with the best voice, and they get a guy on the mic, and he's yelling your name. It's all hype. If I took that very opponent and I put him to you in the octagon in the gym and I told you fight this guy, you wouldn't be as nervous. You'd be nervous, but you won't be as nervous. What I tell them is cut out all the hype. That physics hasn't changed. The laws of physics have not changed. I don't care what hype you want to put behind this guy. The laws of physics are the same. We need to deal with him. Focus on the problem at hand. Don't focus on all the hype. Now, I'll tell you the greatest example of this ever is Bobby Fischer. Now, there's one great Bobby Fischer documentary that I can't find again, but it was a great, great documentary. And if those of you guys don't know, Bobby Fischer was he was a world champion in chess. Now, Bobby Fischer, once upon a time, was supposed to take on the greatest Russian chess champion. I'm forgetting his name now, forgive me. And he said he would go, then he said he won't go, then he said he would go, and the match was in Iceland. The two greatest chess players in the world were supposed to meet. Now, don't forget, this is the time of the Cold War. Like, America and Russia were at the brink at any moment to break out in nuclear war. At any moment. Not only would they break out in nuclear war, they would end the planet Earth as we know it. They had enough nukes, still have enough nukes, to end the world. Okay? So it's America versus Russia. Will Bobby Fischer go to Iceland? In the documentary, he's like, yes, I'm going to go. Then he's like, no, I'm not going to go. Then he's back and forth. Then he ends up going. Then he gets there, and he's like, I'm not playing. The pieces are not good. He forfeits the first match. Then he comes back again. He's like, the camera's making too much sound. He's nitpicking. He's fighting. He's arguing about every detail that doesn't matter. He doesn't like the chairs. He doesn't like the chessboard. He doesn't like the atmosphere. He doesn't like the noise of the cameras, the gears in the camera. The camera has to be in another room. Like, they have to zoom in on him. They have to be further away. He's doing everything. He doesn't like the glass of water on the table. He doesn't like that guy's haircut over there. Get rid of him. I'm the most important guy. I'm one of the two most important guys in the world right now in the chess world, and I demand it this way. Now what happens? The other chess player, the Russian, thinks, oh, he's scared. He's losing his mind. He can't take the pressure. So he forfeits the first game, comes in, forfeits the second game. I believe it's best out of 7. He's like at 3 losses now. So then he comes in and he starts playing. He finally starts playing. They finally get him the chess pieces he wants. They finally put the glass of water the way he likes it, the chair he likes, the table. They get it all right. And then he wins. He wins again. Now the Russian is like, wait a second. Whoa. I think they put a drug in my water. I think there's something in my chair. Like, he's saying, look, I beat this guy easily. He couldn't even step up to the chessboard. And when he played, he was so focused on everything around him. I beat him easily. And now he's beating me. He's tricking me on the chessboard. He's outdoing me on the chessboard. So the Russian chess player said, look, I'm being drugged. I'm hallucinating on the chessboard. I'm hallucinating. I think something's in the water. So the KGB and the FBI get involved. Now, the documentary it's incredible. It's an incredible documentary. The KGB and the FBI, guys, think about that. They're taking apart the chessboard. They're taking apart the chair. They're examining the water, and they found nothing. All they found in the chair, the cushion of the chair, was a dead fly. But the Russian chess player was like, no, they're doing something to me. They're using some radioactive. They're beaming a light on me. They're doing something to play with my mind. So the matches go on, and Bobby Fischer beats the Russian. Bobby Fischer beats the Russian. And now everybody wants to interview him, of course. And he's doing an interview right after the match, and he's like, the reporters are amazed at the mind games that Bobby Fischer played. Listen to this very carefully, okay? Bobby Fischer's like, yeah, I beat him. And the reporter's like, wow, man, you're a master of mind games. It's incredible what you did. How you just like destroyed him psychologically. And Bobby Fischer's like, mind games? What mind games? Bobby Fischer's like, I don't believe in mind games. I only believe in good moves. Bobby Fischer, the great Bobby Fischer, says, I don't believe in mind games. I only believe in good moves. The man is naturally neurotic. He wasn't playing any mind games at all. Guys, and I totally believe this because he went senile in his later years. Okay, he went super hella anti-Semitic. Okay, and I think he's Jewish himself, but he went like totally not. You listen to his interviews as he got older. He got more and more senile. Okay, and I believe he's passed now, but he had some nasty interviews, which I honestly don't think are. I don't know enough about his personal life, but I think he just lost his marbles. Like he had a chemical imbalance or something. I can't confirm that, but I can tell you that he didn't sound right, and he disappeared for years. And the guy's got a freaky, crazy story. That's what I'm telling you. Like he was a genius, but he was also mad. And the whole time that he played with the mind of the Russian, he didn't know he was doing it. All he was focused on is the move. Okay, so kind of like what I'm trying to tell you is on fight night, If the Russian just focused on the move, if the Russian didn't think about all these mind games, if he thought, hey, I'm going to ignore all this hype, I'm going to ignore all these gestures, what I care about is the good moves on the board, that would have been the most powerful mental strategy. The ultimate mind game is not to play any mind games. The ultimate mental strategy is to be strong enough mentally to see that the mind games are just vapor. The laws of physics will not change. Only if you allow them to enter your mind. Now what you do in the gym might not surface, but that's if you allow these ideas to enter your mind. Remember what Bobby Fischer said. Bobby Fischer said, basically he was telling us, look, I'm just crazy. I was just focusing on the game. The Russian was like, hey, what's Bobby Fischer trying to do when he's moving the cameras? What's he trying to do when he's changing the water glass? Why is he changing the piece? What does that have to do with the universe of the chessboard? The chessboard is now your universe. What is the changing of... Because he wanted to put the cameraman in the other room, so they'll have to zoom in on him because the camera was too close to Bobby. And among 1,000 other things. I watched this documentary years ago, but he wanted to change every little thing about the environment. The Russian, if he was ultimately strong mentally, would have ultimately, if he was mentally prepared, he would have just dismissed all those behaviors. And he would have focused on the chessboard. The ultimate in mental preparedness is to avoid and not allow anything to enter your mind except what move has to be done now. I believe that's the ultimate in mental preparedness. Guys, I just got another super chat here. What do you think of my prediction? John Jones wins by decision against the scariest heavyweight. Oh, I talked about that. I don't know, man. That's a tough one. Coach, what is your experience? What do you think? Coach, what is your experience that you speak of that made you know God? That's from PK. Okay, guys, now we're deep in the philosophical questions. Guys, there's a difference between belief and knowledge. What's the difference? If you believe something, you have strong evidence for it. There's many definitions to belief. I'm not going to go through them now. But if you're justified for believing something, you have good reason, you have a lot of evidence for it, it's a strong belief. You have a belief. When you know something, you can't be wrong. So for instance, let's say I said, also in philosophy, we say you can't know something that's untrue. Okay? So to know something, you have to have perfect evidence and it has to be true. So for instance, if I say John Doe is 7 feet tall, I know it for a fact. And then we go and measure John Doe and he's 6 feet tall. I made a mistake. I didn't know that. When I was claiming it to know it, I didn't know it because it have to be factually true. You cannot know something that's factually true, even if you claim it. So it's a belief. He who believed he was 7 feet tall, and he turned out to be 6 feet tall. It was a belief, even though you refer to it as knowledge. Now, to know something, you have to have a perfect proof, perfect evidence, direct evidence. Okay. Now, in mysticism, they'll tell you they know something, and I believe it. I totally agree with it. But it's via experience. You have to have the total. You have to have the totality of evidence. It can't be overturned later. There can be no possibility of it being overturned. Okay. Now, deductive logic doesn't give us this, and scientific knowledge doesn't. Scientific knowledge can always be overturned. Okay. Go ask any master of science, any philosopher of science, and ask him, are scientific facts falsifiable? He'll tell you, by their very nature, they're falsifiable. If they were not falsifiable, they'd be math. All scientific facts are due to being falsified. That's how they define scientific facts. Okay. If it's not falsifiable, it's not based on induction. Therefore, it's not scientific. Okay. Maybe a little bit too much jargon and epistemology there, but basically, it's a different type of logic. Science is a different type of logic that relies on experience. We move from a set of observations to a generality. Science ultimately is based on a generality. We have to generalize. We have to say something about the universe that we haven't observed necessarily. What I'm talking about is intuition. Intuition is direct experience. So in philosophy, we all agree that we have direct experience of our mind. We have direct experience of the mind. You can't deny the mind. You're having an experience of mind right now. You're listening to my voice. You're listening to this podcast. Now, maybe Descartes would tell you, maybe Coach Zahabi is some demon. You think he's Coach Zahabi, but he's not really Coach Zahabi. And you're thinking you're listening to the world's greatest MMA podcast, but you're not really. You're listening to a demon speak to you. This is what Descartes would tell you. He actually uses the term demon. He uses the example of a demon. And this demon, he's fooling you. You think you're talking to Coach Zahabi, and you're a fool. He's a demon pretending to be an MMA coach. But you could turn around and tell Descartes, yeah, but my experience of the podcast is true. Maybe he's a demon. That I don't know. I won't say he's not a demon. I'll just say that I know I heard a podcast, an MMA podcast. I had an experience of it that I know. Even if you were sound asleep in your dreams. Guys, here's the thing. Okay, Descartes, the father of modern philosophy, he was looking for something that's a transcendental truth. What's a transcendental truth? Like, even if I was dreaming, it's still true. Even if I was in another dimension, it's still true. Even if I was abducted by aliens and they took me to a whole other universe where up is down and down is up, where ice is hot and fire is cold. If they took me to the most bizarro universe, think about the most bizarre Star Trek crossed by, like, the most bizarre universe you could imagine. This would still be true. And by this, I mean something, a subject we're going to bring up shortly. It would have to be transcendentally true. In every dimension, every universe, in every circumstance, up or down, left or right, nothing could ever change it. No revisionist history, no correction, no faulty belief. Guys, not even the words, not even 1 + 1 = 2 satisfies this criteria. So what is this transcendental truth? Well, Descartes took a stab at it, but I think he missed. Okay, a lot of guys critiqued him, including Nietzsche famously, but ultimately speaking, it's not the contents of our consciousness, because I'm part of the contents of your consciousness right now. Right now, you have experience of a MMA podcast. However, the contents of your consciousness can be wrong. I might be a demon disguised, right? We said that a demon might be disguised as a coach, and he's filling your head with ideas, and these ideas don't correspond to anything out there in reality. But your experience of the podcast is true. If tomorrow you see the color red, well, you're having the experience of color red, and then some scientist comes and says, well, it's actually not red, it's an optical illusion. Yeah, but my experience of it was red. That's true. As long as you don't claim that in the outside world it's red, as long as you don't claim that, you're still correct. You understand? You could say that I had an experience of the illusion. So I won't say that Descartes is right when he says that the mind is known. He wouldn't say that either. Okay, he would tell you, look, the contents of your mind are questionable. However, the mind, the experience of the mind you're having directly, it's not via deduction. It's not via scientific experiment. Actually, we have zero evidence scientifically of the mind. Zero. Every time a scientist writes about the mind, he's using his own personal mind to prove it to himself. Okay, we never observed mind. We observe brain. We infer the mind. Somebody talks to us about their mind. Somebody says they had experience in their mind, but we never observe the mind. Okay, this is known as hard problem of consciousness. The easy problem being the biology of the brain. The mind is invisible to the world. It's only known directly. This is not disputed. Okay, this is not disputed at all. Leibniz said it best. Okay, and I know I've mentioned this a few times, but Leibniz said it best. Says, imagine you were really, really small and you could walk around a human brain. You would see all the physical elements, but you would never see any of the psychological elements. You would never see the experiences. You never see the color red. You'd never see, guys, the color red. When I experience the color red, I'm experiencing it in a dark space in my brain. There's no color red inside my brain. It's just a dark space. It's just pure darkness inside the brain. Where is the color red manifesting? A different dimension? Where is it? That's the hard problem. We can't observe it. We only know it directly. Like that, guys. Kind of like that. That's how somebody would know there is a singularity. Why is this? Why do mystics all agree, guys? The one place where all people agree is when they reach a level we call mysticism. All mystics from every religion, from every walk of life, they all agree. Nobody disputes that there exists a singularity. It always was and always will be. Why was it always was and always? Why? How did you add that? That's hard to explain. You see, it's kind of like impossible to be otherwise, and obviously so at the same time. You've observed power in the universe, right? You've seen things move, and you've inferred power. Things move, things happen in life. There is a power out there, but power always was, could never have come to being, because you would need power to create power. Power is the root of everything. Okay. That's why we refer to it as an all-powerful God. All power came from this. No power came ever from anything else. Ever. All power was there. All of it. Always. Not potentia. Always. Aristotle famously said there couldn't have never been just nothing. There would have to be at least potential. And potential is something. Okay? So this is Aristotle's point of view. There had to be power always. I believe also in science, okay? In science, they agree to this now, but before empirical sciences, before we had empirical sciences, before we had laboratories, people just thought this deductively, understood this deductively. I know it's kind of weird what we're talking about, but in the beginning, there had to be power, not some power. All power ever. There was never power ever created. Power cannot be created. It's all there. It's infinite. It'll never die and it'll never be created. Now you're having a direct experience of mind, the mind, this singularity. It's not a duality. If you minus all the contents of consciousness, there's only one thing left. Now, here's the thing. Your body, your flesh, people wrongly think that I have a body and inside my body there's consciousness. It's wrong. There's consciousness, and inside your body, and your body's inside consciousness. Remember what we said about transcendental truth. Let's test this, okay? Let's do the ultimate litmus test. Which truth is transcendental? Which truth can be true in every dimension, in every galaxy, in every universe, in every bizarro episode? It's going to be true. Your version, let's associate with you. You think that you have a body made of flesh, and that inside the brain emerges a mind. Okay? Let's call it materialism. A version of materialism where we believe that the body is a brain and flesh and bone, etc., all the components of the body. And the mind is an emergent property, kind of like a steam train. You have the train, it's made of metal, steel. And when you make the train go, it shoots up steam, a byproduct of making it go. The body is real, the mind is an emergent property. Okay, let's try to see if it's transcendental. Let's transition to the dream world, Descartes would tell you. Imagine me and you are in a dream. And you're like, hey, look, I got a body, and inside my body, there's a mind. And I'd be like, no, the body is just dream. Your body is just a thought. What do you mean thought? I feel it. Yeah, what you're feeling is a sensation in the mind. It's all mind. It's just mind. We're in a dream right now. We're in a dream. What do you mean we're in a dream? Look, I could punch this wall and I put a hole in it. Yeah, that's just one picture following another. It's just theater. It's just mind. More mind. Oh, but I have a brain. Yeah, your brain is also made of mind. It's all mind, the whole thing. When you have a dream and you're in the dream and you don't say, hey, this is real flesh. You wake up from the dream and you're like, oh, that was an illusion of flesh. The belief in materialism is not transcendental. It doesn't go. Tomorrow we're going to discover some bizarro fact of the universe and it's not going to pass. Descartes wants to know something that's going to pass, okay? So we're saying, what is the one thing that was going to pass? So we take out everything that doesn't pass. We take out everything that doesn't pass. And this is a very long process. And in the end, you find this one singularity. Imagine emptying the mind of all its contents. And realizing that the flesh is also, your flesh, is also in this point of awareness. Because the mind is really a point of awareness. And then you come to realize that everybody's mind is really the same one point of awareness. But it's not your mind. You're contained within it. And then you will have an experience of a singularity. Then you'll have a direct experience. And this experience is transcendental. It doesn't have an expiry date. It always was, it always will be. It's not subject to time and space. Guys, one of the philosophers that I would tell you came the closest to understanding this, in my opinion. And he just basically missed the mark by an inch. Is Schopenhauer. And a guy I don't like personally. Like, when I read his bio, man, he's a very unlikable human being. But still, he was very, very profound in his thinking. Very profound. You see, in philosophy, we have a great dichotomy. We have two great philosophers that really paved the way. Parmenides and Heraclitus. Heraclitus says, look, the whole world is fire and flux. The whole world. Imagine I filmed the world, okay? And I filmed the world, and I filmed the whole thing. From the start of the earth to the end and I played it on fast forward. It would look like a fire. You ever seen like people when they go and they film nature and they film like 1,000 hours and then they play it in fast forward? And then you see nature kind of like dancing like a flame. Heraclitus said, look, that's the world we live in. We're just watching it in slow-mo. You're in a fire right now. You're literally the whole world, the whole universe is just a flame. We're in constant flux. It's moving so slow you don't realize it, but really, that's just because of your perception. If you had a more accurate perception, if you understood how I understand, how I see the world, if you were wise enough to see the world like me, you would see we're in a constant state of flux. Like a fire never sits still, the world is ever changing. Everything is decaying around us. Everything is a flame. He famously said, you can't step in the same river twice. Nothing is the same as it was a second ago or a moment ago. Everything is changing all the time. Then you had Parmenides, the total opposite. He says change never happened ever. It's all illusionary. One of his famous students gave us a famous paradox, the gyno paradox. And I'll give you a much simpler version. Imagine you want to go from here to the gym. Before you get from here to the gym, you have to cross the halfway mark. And before you get to the halfway mark between you and the gym, you have to cross that halfway mark. The halfway mark, the halfway mark, and you have a halfway mark. And that halfway mark, and you have a halfway mark. There's an infinite amount of halfways. You cannot cross infinity. Therefore, you can never get to the gym. Till this day, mathematicians are still trying to give us an accurate answer. There is an infinite amount of halves. How could we get past an infinite amount of halves? He says you can't. He says, therefore, motion. He has other good paradoxes, guys. This is just one. I give it to you like a more Mickey Mouse version. Motion is impossible. There is no change. Motion is an illusion. Kind of like in a dream. Imagine you had a dream about running 100 miles. How many miles did you run? 0. It was just an illusion. You can't actually physically run 100 miles. There's no such thing as miles. There's no such thing as running, Parmenides would tell you. There's only the one. That's all he would tell you. There's only one. You're just living in a world of illusions. Now, Schopenhauer kind of harmonized the two because Plato tried very badly to harmonize the two. If you want to understand Plato, you have to understand these two things, okay? Heraclitus and Parmenides. Plato came after these two giants, and he was his entire career trying to make sense out of the two. Schopenhauer did a better job. Schopenhauer had a lot more time to reflect. Schopenhauer was trying to tell us that, look, the world we live in, it's all... Man, he did it in a very different way. He did it in terms of will. He discussed it in terms of will. Schopenhauer said, look, see this object here? Just another object. It's just one object in the universe, and I'm an object in the universe. I'm just another thing in the universe, but this thing is very different. There's a will inside of it. I have this direct experience of will. I can kind of get up if I want to. I can kind of run if I want to, but I'm this weird object in the world. How come I have a will? And then he says, look at the universe. It seems to have a will. It seems to be going in a direction. There are tornadoes, there are storms, animals kill each other. Like, what is this? What created this will? The universe went from being atoms in a void to this manifestation of a will. People are born and want to kill, eat, drink, sleep. And he says there's a will to the universe. He called it a blind will. He called it a blind animalistic will. Actually, even he says my will, the one personal will, is the will of the universe. Because if you understand determinism, the universe is pulling all the strings. I'm a byproduct of consequences and events that happen that I had no control of. Everything I say or do or feel is a byproduct of this universe pushing my buttons. So he says this will I'm having a direct experience of is really the universe's will. Why on earth did a blind universe create such a world? Well, he made a huge error in his works, okay? Because for us to talk about determinism, we'd have to be determined to talk about determinism. Think about this for a second. Imagine I was building a robot and I wanted the robot to say, hey, I was designed by Coach Zahabi. What would I need to do? I'd have to build a robot. I'd have to program him that after a certain amount of time, he's going to play this program and this program is going to say, hey, I was designed by Coach Zahabi. Coach Zahabi built this robot. For that to happen, for that robot to say those words, he has to be programmed. That's where Schopenhauer kind of shot himself in the foot. He didn't think of the irony, the self-referential irony of the fact that he's observing determinism and calling himself determined, understanding that he's determined by this will. That means that the will willed him to know he's willed. Kind of a mind bender, but you have to think about it a little. We say God determined you to be free. You were determined to be free. It's ironic, but you were determined to know that you're determined. There's no other way. If determinism is true, and we know about it, we'd have to be determined to be determined. We'd have to be determined to know we're determined. Imagine you were building a robot. He would never know he's determined. He would never know unless you program him. For you to tell me he'll know, he'll some people say, no, you never know, complexity. If the robot eventually learns enough, might know he's determined. That's just poof magic. You're just trying to say poof magic. Somehow, some way he's going to break free from his algorithm. It's a poof magic argument. It's poof. There's magic. I skipped a step, but I believe it can happen. I'm hiding behind complexity and mystery. No, we need explanation. We need an explanation of how you can know you can be determined. Guys, long story short, I know I went long-winded here. Maybe I'll save Schopenhauer for another day because there's a lot more to say about his point of view. But ultimately speaking, if you empty your mind of all of consciousness, all of the contents of consciousness, you're going to be faced with a singularity. And that's a direct experience. And it's transcendentally true. Therefore, you can claim it to be knowledge. It's very important to note that we didn't use logic or scientific experiment. Because logic and scientific experiments have their flaws. They're not perfect. Logic may be perfect, but you're not a perfect logician, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so we can't rely on only deduction. Deduction can bring us very close to being certain, but never fully so. And scientific experiment can give us great confidence, but we're always susceptible to scientific revolution. Once upon a time, spontaneous generation was a scientific fact. People believed that if you took a piece of meat and you covered it, and then the next week they would come to inspect the meat, and there was maggots and there was flies, and see spontaneous generation. Life can spontaneously generate. Poof, magic. No life, poof, magic. That's how we explain life. It's a poof. They didn't know anything about germs. Scientific revolution. All of a sudden, no, there was life already. A fly had laid eggs on that steak. It's not poof magic. We can explain it now. It's not spontaneous generation. Fact overturned. Guys, there's countless things we believed in the past that we observed over and over again, but the explanation we had was wrong. It was an accepted scientific fact that the atom we have today, what we consider atom, could never be split. It was accepted. It was widely accepted that atom cannot be split. The word atom literally means, it's Greek for inseparable, indivisible, excuse me. Nobody says that today. Okay, so we're always susceptible to new evidence in the future. Okay, now don't take this from me. Contact your friendliest philosopher of science or do some research, and you'll see that this is a bedrock, well understood idea. Guys, I want to thank you all for tuning in. I'm super tired. It's late. I have more wrestling and violence for tomorrow. Guys, I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you all in the next episode. Thank you.